Hello, I'm Bob Schieffer, and welcome to the CBS Evening News online edition. Just ahead, Hurricane Wilma raced across southern Florida. Jim Acosta has details. Also, 2 massive truck bombs target hotels in Baghdad. We'll have dramatic video of the attack as it happened. And part 1 of our series, Border Wars, shows why many illegal immigrants don't fear arrest. It's all starting now on the CBS Evening News online edition. Wilma hit Florida's southwest coast with a fury, but unlike New Orleans when Katrina hit, Florida was ready. Still, there was serious widespread damage. More than 6 million people lost power, and there have been some deaths, but nothing like the toll from Katrina. Wilma's made its way across the Florida peninsula and is now blowing at hurricane strength out in the Atlantic. Our first report tonight comes from Jim Acosta in Naples on Florida's Gulf Coast. Jim?
Bob, Hurricane Wilma may have raced like a bullet, but somehow most of southwest Florida dodged it, although that's not how it felt here this morning. Wilma pulled the hurricane trigger, blasting the southwest Florida coast with 125-mile-per-hour winds. The Category 3 hurricane humbled the posh resort town of Naples, dumping buckets of rain on expectations of a milder storm. For anybody venturing outside, at times, it was nearly impossible to stand.
I live here all my life. I ain't never seen nothing like this.
Naples not only took a beating from the winds, but we can also see a storm surge creeping into the city's downtown. This road behind me is filled with water, stretching back a half-mile to the Gulf. Wilma's eye hauled a big storm surge through remote Everglades City, swamping houses and turning roads into canals. Residents waited outside a police roadblock, unsure whether their homes survived.
I got my wife and my dog. What else matters?
Over in the nearby fishing village of Goodland, the storm's winds ripped the roof off this motel.
Well, it looks like a roofless motel.
But after all of the huffing and puffing, even most of southwest Florida's mobile homes stood their ground.
Much less damage than I thought there would be. It's a mess, but it's all stuff that can be cleaned up and replaced without destroying the homes.
For a storm that took its time finding Florida, Wilma left in a hurry, blazing across the state in a matter of hours. The hurricane blew out the windows in office buildings and damaged houses in Miami, then knocked out power to more than 3 million homes statewide.
It was 30 to 40 minutes of total intensity. I mean, just constant, and that was scary.
Connie Roster rode out the storm on her fishing boat, reeling in a calming cup of sunshine after it was all over.
And here you are now with your cup of coffee after the hurricane?
Well, yeah. I mean, life goes on, right?
Florida's 8th hurricane in 15 months, Wilma saved much of her wrath for the Everglades, which in the end may have saved the day. Bob?
Well, clearly, Florida was ready for this one this time. Jim, was this different than covering these other ones that you've been involved in so far this season?
It sure was, and to be honest, Bob, this hurricane was nothing like Katrina, nothing like Charlie, really nothing like Dennis, which hit the Florida Panhandle earlier this year. This was the best possible scenario for this hurricane to go right into the Everglades.
Thank you very much, Jim. In Baghdad today, suicide bombers driving trucks blasted their way past security walls and set off spectacular explosions near hotels where many journalists and contractors live. No Americans were killed, but the blast left 20 passersby dead in what is supposed to be one of the most secure areas of the city. Iraqi officials said it was part of a plot to take control of the hotels and use the journalists as hostages. Whatever the reason, the whole thing was caught on tape. Here is Kimberly Dozier.
This first explosion is just a warm-up for this. A massive truck bomb aimed at the Palestine and Sheraton hotels, home to many foreigners, including reporters.
Is it on the roof or? I don't know. That's another one. Well, should everybody clear the windows?
It's also the famous square where Saddam's statue was toppled the day Baghdad fell. From this camera angle, you can see how one of the explosions breaches the hotel compound's security wall. Moments later, a smaller blast creates a diversion, clearing the way for yet another attacker, driving a cement truck full of explosives. The driver tries over and over to ram the truck through a second barrier, trying to get closer to the hotels. The tiny flashes of light around the truck are apparently small arms fire as hotel guards try to kill the attacker. The guards must have taken the full brunt of this. Tightened security since last week's referendum had kept most of the bombers at bay. But as before, the insurgents waited until their targets relaxed their guard. They attacked tonight just as hotel security men, like all Iraqis, were breaking their day-long Ramadan fast. This vicious attack shows the insurgents are studying their targets carefully, biding their time, and waiting for that moment's lapse that leaves their victims vulnerable. Bob?
Kimberly, what were they trying to do here? What were they trying to prove?
Well, U.S. commanders knew the insurgents had been planning a spectacular series of attacks. They thought this was going to happen before last week's referendum. So ever since then, this whole city has essentially been holding its breath, waiting for the explosions. The scary thing for people here is that even though security was high, and even though the Americans could have anticipated that the Palestine and Sheraton would have been a major target, they couldn't stop this from happening.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Kimberly. There is a lot of concern in this country about what's happening on our borders. In a CBS News poll out tonight, 75% of Americans said the federal government is not doing enough to keep illegal immigrants out. So all this week, we're going to be reporting on the battle at the borders. For some illegals, the easiest way to get in is to get caught. Here's Lee Cowan with tonight's Eye on America.
Call it a high-stakes game of catch and release.
They just give up, pretty much. They don't run anymore.
Make no mistake, the U.S. Border Patrol still does the catching along the border of Texas and Mexico.
Well, these guys are going to be right in front of your vehicle.
But these days, many of those they catch
They're coming to you, guys.
are looking to be caught. These are just a few of a group of about 35 from Central America that were taken into custody tonight, just right across from the Rio Grande River. Now, 2 years ago, they would have run for their lives, but tonight they actually surrendered because being taken into custody, just like this, is actually exactly what they want. That's because after they're filed, fingerprinted, and fed, most of them will walk away and simply disappear into the underground economy.
The numbers are so staggering, and the dollars are not there to detain them.
They're called OTMs, other than Mexican, usually Brazilian, Honduran, or Nicaraguan. At this one crossing, agents told us they've seen a 200% increase in OTMs just since last year. They can't be bussed back to their home country as Mexican immigrants can, and there's no room to hold them while their deportation hearings get underway. So, they're released with what's called a permiso, a paper promise to appear in court later.
How many of these folks really do show up at their detention hearing?
In a roundabout way, the figures kind of indicate that the majority will not show up. That's just the truth of the matter.
We caught up with young Eli Romero, a furniture maker from Honduras, clutching his permiso like it was gold. I'm very happy, he told us. Now that I have it, I'm going to take full advantage of it. And the word is spreading fast. People have told us just how easy it is, this man from Honduras says. We decided to see if it was true. A new program instituted just last month has freed up more detention space, allowing immigration officials to send some OTMs home in a matter of weeks. The problem?
This is marijuana, cocaine, methamphetamine.
Tony Castaneda is the police chief in Eagle Pass, Texas. He says he's so busy with OTMs, he has little time to focus on his real problem, drug trafficking.
It's cutting us thin and overwhelming in what we're doing.
As for Eli Romero, well, he was headed for Baltimore. He promised us that he would appear at his court hearing, but officials later told us he never showed up. Just like most of those on this bus to freedom who will likely never see an immigration official again. In Eagle Pass, Texas, I'm Lee Cowan for Eye on America.
More stories are just a click away, but don't forget to join me on television for the on-air edition of the CBS Evening News. On Tuesday's broadcast, they're called the Minutemen, and they've taken it upon themselves to patrol the U.S.-Mexico border. But they aren't stopping there. Where the Minutemen are going next when our series Border Wars continues. For CBSNews.com, I'm Bob Schieffer.